Seriously, don't move to St. Augustine unless you can handle these three things. What's up everyone, it's Thomas with Real Broker here in St. Augustine, Florida, and today we're going to cover three things that you need to know about if you're considering moving to our area, and I think that they're super important for you to know, and they may actually deter you away from our area. But that's my goal here as a real estate agent, is to make you comfortable in the decision moving forward. My goal is to give you the educational materials that you need in order to make an informed decision. So let's get on to it. The first thing you should know about here in St. Augustine is that the cost of living has changed dramatically. Now, of course, we know that inflation has been on the rise for the past couple of years because the government went and printed a whole bunch of money during the pandemic times. But doesn't change the fact that northeastern Florida and Florida as a whole has changed drastically, and the cost of living has changed along with that. And a lot of that, especially in our area, comes down to the housing prices. Now, just to touch on property taxes, now compared to a lot of other states, Florida has really affordable property taxes, and really we make up for that because we have higher closing costs when associated with purchasing a home. So if you are looking to buy a home, typically your closing costs are going to be roughly 3.5% of the purchase price, right? So if you're buying a $500,000 house, you could expect your closing costs to be somewhere between $15,000 and $18,000 just for you to close on the loan for that home. That's a huge chunk of change. Now, there are areas that do carry higher taxes than the rest of St. Johns County. If you're looking at downtown St. Augustine and St. Augustine Beach, their taxes are some of the highest in the entire county. In downtown, it's going to be about 1.92% of purchase price, and St. Augustine Beach is going to be right around 1.8% of your purchase price. So if you're buying a $1 million home, you'd expect to pay around $18,000 if you're living in St. Augustine Beach for your property taxes. Now, both of these areas tend to have higher taxes because they kind of offer more amenities. Downtown St. Augustine has a whole bunch of streetlights, has a whole bunch of restaurants and everything, and trying to keep up with the nightlife and everything down there, that's why the taxes are a little bit higher there. St. Augustine Beach, you have the beach right in front of you, and a lot of that money goes into dune restoration and protecting sea turtles. Let's stop talking about taxes and actually talk about what you want to know, which is the property values here in St. Augustine. So I did a 5-year analysis. I went back to 2018 to see what was the average sale price of a home versus an average sale price today, and the results are pretty staggering. Back in 2018, the average sale price for a home was $328,000. Now, if you compare that to today, the average sale price of a home here in St. Johns County is going to be $575,000. If you're looking at that over a 5-year increase, that's almost a 60% increase. 12% year over year over year since 2018. Now, high prices wouldn't be so bad if we still had 3% interest rates, but in today's world, interest rates are going between somewhere at 7% and 8%, and it looks like they're going to keep going higher for the foreseeable future. And this all happened very, very quickly. So a lot of the people here in St. Johns County, they don't make that type of money where they can afford a house at $575,000. The average income for a person here in St. Johns County is going to be right around $45,000 to $50,000. And that's because most of the work here in St. Johns County is going to be government work. So if you look at the top 10 employers in St. Johns County, I think the first 3 of them are all related to government work here. Public administration, the school district, and also the sheriff's office here in St. Johns County. So a lot of these people within the 5 years have seen things change so drastically that they went from being able to afford a nice home here to maybe not even being able to afford a home at all. Have you guys ever experienced something like this in your town? I mean, this is a drastic change in pricing, and it has been a huge change for the area. And for the people that are living here, it's hard to cope. The second thing that you might not be able to handle here in St. Augustine is going to be the weather. Now, everyone knows that we don't have snow in the winter and that it's hot during the summer, but if you haven't experienced the type of heat that is down here, then you're not going to adjust correctly. And if you're not a big fan of being hot and sweaty, then the summer here in Florida may not be for you. June, July, August, you can expect temperatures to average between 90 to 95 degrees with 100% humidity. So I've had people that have moved here from Arizona and they were like, we feel like it's kind of cold here because the humidity, it makes it feel like there's a wet blanket on there. So if there's like a slight breeze, you feel that it's kind of chilly. But for most everyone else that moves to Florida, that first summer is really, really rough. And it's because it's just a constant heat, a constant humidity. It doesn't change. Even at night, it may go down slightly when the sun's not up, but it's not going down by very much. So you're still sweating if you're outside at night. Not only that, because it's so hot, it almost rains every single day. And we're not just talking about a little sprinkle, we're talking about a major downpour almost every day at 4 o'clock. I feel like it's just the Earth's way of saying like, hey, we got to cool this thing down somehow. So it gets so hot between 1 and 2 o'clock that 4 o'clock comes around and you get a massive rain shower almost every day throughout the entire summer. On top of the weather being extremely hot during the summer, it's also the worst time for allergies and the worst time for bugs. So we just bought a new house over here and we have trees and bugs and all that kind of stuff. Lions, tigers, snakes, oh my. All that kind of stuff right next to us, and my wife has the worst allergies in the world. She just got an allergy test done and it turns out that she's pretty much allergic to everything. The trees, the grass, the dog. Everything she's allergic to, and in the summer it is exacerbated. So this past summer she really broke out in hives on her arms, some parts on her face sometimes, just because of her allergies. So if you have bad allergies, he might want to get tested before you come down here to make sure you know what you're allergic to. Now, we can't mention the weather without talking about the hurricanes and the flooding that happened here in Florida. Now, we know that we all get hit with hurricanes every once in a while. Northeastern Florida does tend to fare a lot better than the rest of the state. On the Gulf Coast, they're getting hit with hurricanes all the time. Southern Florida, they have a higher wind speed than we do. We actually build to a different code than Southern Florida does because their average wind speed is that much higher than it is up here. Now, hurricane season's between June and November, so it follows right along with the dog days of summer, and it goes into the beginning of the school year and into the holiday season. Now, if you've never experienced a hurricane before, it can be pretty scary. Now, I help a ton of people relocating, and there's nothing that I'm going to say that's going to put your mind at ease. You know, a hurricane comes in and Mother Nature could be coming, extremely strong in the area, and it could do some significant damage, especially if it ties along with the king tide, which is the highest point of water level during the year, which is typically around September of the year here in Florida. The one thing I tell people, and this is just speaking from my experience, is my grandparents have lived on the Intercoastal since 1998 here in Florida. Their parents owned since 1977. They put a double wide trailer on it. My grandparents, when they moved in 1998, they put a new double wide trailer on, and it's still there to this day. So I mean, almost 40 years of no double wide trailer getting blown away or floating away. And that's the best experience I can tell you. Now, are there going to be instances if you're living right on the water, if you're living on the beach, where you're going to have flooding, where you're going to have hurricane damage? 100%. I'm not saying that's not going to happen. But we've been really lucky here in northeastern Florida. And most attitudes around hurricanes, they treat it very much like people treat snow days up north, right? It's just a day off. So if there's a hurricane, a category 1, 2, even a 3 hurricane, for the most part, you're getting school off, people are staying at home with their kids, or you're throwing a hurricane party. A lot of people will host parties in the middle of a hurricane. It sounds crazy, but it's just what people do here. When it's a category 1 or 2, it's not as serious, right? But once you're getting into the category 3s to 4s, that's when people start to get a little antsy. You'll start to see evacuations happen, and that happened during Hurricane Nicole last year. Hurricane Nicole last year, I believe it was Nicole or Ian. They came right back to back. And I think they were only category 3 hurricanes, but they were a direct hit into Daytona, which, is just south of us here. My grandma lives on the Intercoastal, so just to make sure everyone was safe, she came over and stayed the night at my place until we got the all clear to go back on the island. It is something to note as well, as if you do live in an evacuation zone, you don't have to evacuate, but if they're saying, hey, you should get off the island, it essentially means, like, if you're not off the island and something happens, we're not coming to rescue you in the middle of a storm. So, take that with a grain of salt, but that's just how it is here. And the third thing that would probably drive you nuts if you lived here is going to be the tourism here in St. Augustine. Now, you guys probably knew that one was coming. St. Augustine is one of the most visited towns in the entire state of Florida. I think we have 8 million visitors every single year. It's pretty crazy. But you don't really know what it's like until you live here and have to experience the traffic just amongst everything, right? So you even go downtown and you want to just have a nice night on the town, finding parking is going to be a pain in the ass during the summer and the winter. During the summer, of course, we have people that are off for summer vacation, people taking family vacations. In downtown St. Augustine, it's packed with history, it's packed with cool things to do for all ages. It's packed in general during the summer. So there's a whole bunch of events down there. It's a beautiful town. I love going down there. But in reality, during the summer, it's not really an option. One, you got to walk everywhere. Downtown is one of those places where it's, you just got to park and you got to walk to places and it's 95 degrees, 100% humidity, and there's a whole bunch of people out, right? So it's not exactly like something you want to do. You want to park your car, go into a restaurant, have dinner, be comfortable, and leave. During the winter time, we have, of course, a whole bunch of snowbirds that come down, but people have winter break as well. We also have Nights of Lights, which is where all of downtown St. Augustine, and a lot of the city as well, of like St. Augustine Beach, will dress everything up in white lights, and it's a very beautiful sight to see. A lot of people come and get introduced to St. Augustine through the Night of Lights because it was on I think top 10 Christmas lights for National Geographic. So like, I don't know how we got up there with like Times Square, but either way they made it on there, and it is a beautiful sight to see. But if you've gone to it once, you've gone to it twice, 3 times, it's the same thing every year. It's a bunch of lights on trees and buildings. You know, it's not that special, it's not that crazy. It's a beautiful thing to go see and hang out and have a good night, but at the same time it adds that much more traffic. And I would say traffic during that winter time is even worse than the summer because it's much more concentrated over a shorter period of time. So really from like end of November to the end of December, that whole month is a wash for going downtown. And along with being a tourist city, that means you have a whole bunch of people visiting that have no freaking idea where they're going. So they're driving around on a 45-mile-per-hour road, going 35, going 25 mile per hour. Downtown St. Augustine, they let you rent these scooters, these little small like go-kart looking things that you can drive around town. You can take a horse and buggy. All of these things cause traffic, and a lot of people ride them on the main roads as well. So you'll see a golf cart on the main road that's going 45 miles per hour. Well, it's not going 45. It's a 45-mile-per-hour road, and it's going 20. Maybe it's going 15. You'll see a scooter that's barely running, and they'll be running it up and down US 1, and it's terrible. But then you also have the people that are just looky-loos. They're driving down the street, and they're, oh, over there, oh, that's cool. Oh, over there too, that's amazing. And you got places to go, right? So if you're living in town, you get stuck behind a tourist, you hate tourists. This is another thing too, with all the people visiting our area. I'm not saying that our infrastructure is not developed enough. I definitely think we have some of the best infrastructure in terms of like northeastern Florida compared to a lot of metropolitan areas. Traffic here isn't as bad as what I've experienced in other metropolitan areas, in my opinion, right? But whenever it's summer, whenever it's winter, you have people that don't know where they're going. We're seeing car accidents on 95 a lot more often. It almost seems like it's every day now that we read about car accidents on 95. Guys, and that is it. These are the 3 things that you might not be able to handle if you're considering a move to St. Augustine. If this video helped you out at all, make sure you tap the subscribe button below, like the video. If you have any questions, leave a comment below as well. As always, I'm here to help, whether it's a call, text, or email. You can reach out to me directly. I'm here to help you make an educated decision on what you want to do. Until next time, guys.